Now, Bulgaria's political landscape is set for a major change. After a decade of conservative rule, Bulgarians have elected the center-left Progressive Bulgaria party in a landslide. Official results won't be published until Wednesday, but the party, which is led by former President Rumen Radev, who happens to be seen as a Kremlin supporter, or Kremlin-friendly rather, secured more than 44% of the vote. Observers say that voters hope that Radev's promises of stability and efforts to fight corruption helped win over voters.
A new day is dawning here in the Bulgarian capital, if you ask supporters of former President Rumen Radev. The leader of the Progressive Bulgaria coalition came out on top in this weekend's election. After polls closed, Radev said it was time to strike a new course in Sofia.
Progressive Bulgaria has won decisively. This is a victory of hope over mistrust. It is a victory of freedom over fear. And finally, it is a victory, if you will, of morality, because the people rejected the complacency and arrogance of the old parties and did not succumb to lies and manipulation.
The former ruling party, the center-right GERB, came in a distant second with just 13% of the vote. GERB had been the deciding power in Bulgaria until protests led by Gen Z brought down the government. Demonstrators were angered by the country's economic policies and perceived widespread corruption. Some voters are cautiously optimistic about Radev's victory.
Hope we beat corruption, or at least there is way less corruption than there is right now. I hope that we have a better future for the youth, and I hope that people vote more and use their voice more.
But what exactly does that future look like? Radev has made waves with Eurosceptic and pro-Russian statements, while others in his party want closer relations with Brussels. Whatever path Radev's Progressive Bulgaria coalition chooses, Bulgarian voters have given them a clear mandate for change.
And Maria Simeonova heads the Sofia office of the European Council on Foreign Relations and joins us now from Brussels. Welcome to the program. There's been so much comparison between the political situation in Bulgaria and that in Hungary. Where do you see the parallels and the differences?
Well, the parallels are apparently coming from the fact that former President Rumen Radev, during his 2 mandates as president, had some controversial statements regarding the war in Ukraine, and not only. For example, his famous saying that Crimea was Russian, his opposition to sanctions against Russia, or more precisely questioning how efficient those sanctions were, and also some rhetoric questioning aid to Ukraine. This led to some conclusions that there might be a new Orban in Europe, but there's some nuances. It took Orban many years to build some kind of infrastructure in order to be able to block decisions on EU level. Right now, even though former President Radev's party, new party, is the apparent winner of those elections, we haven't witnessed such a big win for many, many years in the modern Bulgarian political history. Despite this, he doesn't have the necessary support in order to have the constitutional majority, for example. Unlike the case in Hungary, Viktor Orban changed the constitution and basically laid the ground for capturing public institutions, for capturing the media and the judiciary. But apparently, this rhetoric linked to the war in Ukraine is what is raising questions about the support that Bulgaria will express within the EU for Ukraine.
And tell us a little bit more about what you think, in fact, he might mean for the EU, because I'd just like to quote him here. He said this to reporters, and again, I'm quoting here, "A strong Bulgaria and a strong Europe need critical thinking and pragmatism. Europe has fallen victim to its own ambition to be a moral leader in a world without rules." What do you think that might mean in practice?
If we take a look at the political program of the party Progressive Bulgaria, we will find some similarities with, some sovereignties policies, for example. I don't think he will question the pro-European path of Bulgaria, or he will question Bulgaria's NATO membership. Not at all, but he will be more critical. And I think this is due to the fact that he led such campaign. He's been such president. Through the presidency, he had a very comfortable platform through which to address the Bulgarian people, but the difficult decisions were taken by the Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister. So the position of the Bulgarian president is a very, comfortable in terms of spreading sometimes populist slogans, but not delivering on them and not bearing the negative consequences of difficult decisions. But it's one thing to be a president, it's another thing to be a leader of the biggest political party or to be a prime minister. So I think this criticism is directed mostly to the domestic audience because he has to deliver on what he's been saying. But I think that disruptive actions within the EU, at least in the short term, are not to be expected just because one of the main priorities of former President Radev is the fight against corruption, and it's also addressing the negative consequences of the high prices for the Bulgarian citizens. To address those two, first he needs support from the pro-European reformist liberal opposition, which now stands on third place according to the current results, which are still being counted. And on delivering on his economic plans, he will rely on the disbursement of EU funds and the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. So I think in order to fulfill his promises, he will rely on the EU support, which limits him in the way he will, maneuver within the EU and the potential for disruptive actions.
A very quick follow-up with regard to what you're saying on his plans on the EU level. So, what I'm hearing here is that he has, he's promising a European path, but with conditions. Can you give us an idea of what those conditions might be?
Again, I think this is more direct. It's directed more towards domestic audience and the people that elected him. Around 44% of the Bulgarian citizens. I think he will be questioning, for example, how effective the sanctions are. I think he will be raising questions about Russian gas and oil deliveries to Europe, but I don't think that he will choose this position of being the sole blocking actor within the EU, just like Orban was. There is no Orban anymore.
Yeah, does that also, you think, apply to, because he has, in addition, said that he's going to end Bulgaria's pro-Ukraine policy. So how far do you think he might go there?
Well, I think that Bulgaria under Rumen Radev will not be the strongest supporter of Ukraine, definitely. But I don't think he will imitate Orban in his very negative stance towards Ukraine. Bulgarian defense industry, for example, has been gaining a lot since the war started. There is a significant Bulgarian minority in Ukraine. So there are those links between the two countries. And it's also the majority of the Bulgarian population being pro-European that will limit him in delivering this expected pro-Russian turn. I don't think we will see this, at least in the short and midterm.
Maria Simeonova from the European Council on Foreign Relations. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.